All right, welcome to another live stream, everybody. Looks like we are live. Somebody can absolutely let me know in the chat if things are working, because of course on my end it says things are working, but we always know that when it says things are working, it's usually when things are blowing up in the background and something's not working. So hopefully the actual camera's working this time. Hopefully the microphone's working this time. Appreciate everybody coming in. We'll kind of let this delay catch up a little bit here to see if everything's working in. Actually working. Guppy Guru, thank you, my friend. All is good. All right, let's get chatting here. Let's do this. I'm probably planning to go for about an hour tonight. It's kind of what I got going on. I do have things I want to get working on in the fish room tonight. I know we got Kevin Scholler here in the chat. We've been chatting back and forth. I was actually early tonight, so it was enjoyable to talk back and forth a little bit. Guppy Guru himself is in the house. Looks like we got Carrie Habercorn. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here. And as you can see, my microphone is bouncing. That's going to drive me nuts. And it's not there, off your camera. Hang on. Sorry. The wife is texting me here really quick. Sorry about that. We are working on our basement right now. Sharon Miller, welcome. Thanks for coming in. All right, so let's get rolling here. Let's see what we can talk about here tonight. Excuse me. So Nevea, welcome. Man, it's kind of fun seeing everybody come in. So if you previously saw the kind of, I guess, the notification for this from previously, it originally said, let's talk fish food, right? Like I originally planned to come into this chat with props and fish foods and talking all about that. And and thank you everybody for allowing me to reschedule this from Tuesday night to Saturday night. And I'm sure that I'm running in concurrent with another channel doing a live stream. And I want to say right at the bat, it's never my intention to take the spotlight from anybody. My schedule does not allow me to do a set night. I wish it did, where I could hopefully work around other fish tubers and live streamers and that, but just my schedule doesn't allow it. So I've caught some flack in the past but the fact is, like, if you don't want to watch me live, then don't watch me live. Like, that's totally fine with me. But for those who are here, we're going to have a good time tonight. Always appreciate it. So again, thank you everybody for letting me kind of reschedule from Tuesday to now. As things are starting to slowly open back up, I had an opportunity to, me and my wife, we had an opportunity to take my daughter to the zoo. Her aunt and uncle asked if they could take us all to the zoo. And so they provided us with some tickets, and that was great. Like, I had such a good time. I was able to get off work early, take the daughter to the zoo. And, there's something about watching an almost 2-year-old run around, wowing at everything. So it's why we are here tonight. But as for the topic I had planned, it's always fun debating fish food. It's actually one of my favorite things to talk about, is because there's so many on the market. But as the week progressed and I worked on some different projects, and as I kind of got ready for the stream tonight, I didn't feel like it. I did not feel like talking fish food. I really didn't. I more so felt like just chatting with everybody, see what everybody brought to the chat, see what everyone has going on. But I also thought it'd be kind of a fun time to even just talk about things that I'm working on either in the fish room. I think I'm going to talk about my big project I've been working on as well. I don't know. It's just, I wanted to chat tonight. Just kind of wanted to hang out. So Guppy Guru, I like this camera angle too. And right now you can see the reflection in the 60-gallon cube of everything, but hopefully in time as we get this going. And as you can also see, though, the 220 just hasn't moved, hasn't been touched. So that's kind of what I'm really working on tonight, is the 220 or the rack. I've made myself, I have a good problem, and that's I have so many projects I'm working on that I keep bouncing around to each one as I kind of get burned out on one. I moved to the next and moved to the next. And unfortunately, the 60-gallon cube is empty again. Thing's going to be the freaking death of me. I thought I had the plumbing fixed. I thought I had everything ready to go. I thought the leak stopped. And then as I got it running again, I left it overnight, came back down, and I had water on the floor. So still working on the 60 cube. I'm not ready to take a freaking sledgehammer to it. But it will all be worth it in the end because the discs are actually going to look freaking amazing in that. I definitely need to get the 220 going. I mean, I've had wood from Houston Manzanita that have been dying to get in this tank, and the puffer definitely needs an upgrade. He's turning into a little ball of terror. He has officially killed off every Cory cat but one, and he's never attacked another fish in the history of my having him, but I also think that's because he had plenty of swimming space. So we are in desperate need to get him into this tank, and we're probably going to be switching up some of the stocking I have actually in with him. And then the breeding rack. I mean, I have 5 tanks ready to roll here. So I think tonight I'm going to focus in on getting the water lines officially done. That way I can get water in the tanks. And like the hard thing too is like I have people, well, one person in particular, we've talked, and he has fish like in a holding tank for me. Like he literally has fish he's going to send me, part of which I'll pay for, different things like that. And like part of that fish group, I'm actually splitting with Guppy Guru. So but the kicker is like, I need to get tanks up. I need to have tanks with water. I need to get things moving before I can order those and get those in. And I just have so many things going on. But I hope everyone's doing well. I know things are insane in the world right now. 10 people watching. Man, I hope the quality is much better for you than it is for me as I'm watching this. So I can't thank everybody enough for being here. Let's see if I can pull the chat up again. So like I say, I'm going to let you guys kind of drive the conversation tonight. Hopefully somebody can ask some riveting questions that will get me going off on a tangent and different things. We do officially have a tank in the fish room that is running. It is aquascaped, and there's even shrimp in it. So if you have not seen the latest video that released yesterday, actually, we scaped the little 5.5 gallon that's actually right above the camera. So like it's right up above here above the monitor. So it's kind of a cool look from this angle. Lefty, welcome. I appreciate you being here on a Saturday night. But yeah, so that tank is running. That was actually a really fun video to make. I was in the right mood, kind of right vibe. Just kind of came down and hung out that night, and it just kind of came together. And like the footage, the actual like footage that I got from filming that was, in my opinion, some of my best. So I'm really like, every now and then I put a video out, I'm like, that's actually like, I'm actually really proud of that video. And then of course it does terribly on the channel, but that's all right. I don't do this we all want views, and I do this as I love it. And dang, I love that tank. Lefty, I know, man, it is about time I go live. We've gone all, what is it? An extra 4 days, 5 days. We've been waiting for me to go live here, but things change. But what I've been doing today. I took advantage of the weather today, so I have the weekend off. Plan on working a bunch down here in the fish room over the weekend, getting some things up and running even further. But I took advantage of the weather today and a little bit on Thursday, I think even yesterday. Been working outside a little bit, kind of getting some yard work done, helping my wife get a garden going. But I have also, so I don't remember if it was I think it was in a Think Tank live stream that we are actually talking about this. So the Think Tank, if you're not familiar with it, it is myself, Guppy Guru, so Peter, and Bay Area Aquatics, Michael. We 3 do a monthly live stream together, and we rotate what channel it's on. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have all 3 of us come together. We typically go for about 2 hours, and it's always a good time when you get us 3 nerds in on one live chat, just going off about different things. Then we let the chat drive questions, and it can create a lot of fun. But I want to say it had to have been one of the think tanks, because Michael with Bay Area Aquatics, he did some videos on building his patio pond using some of the storage totes from Home Depot. Griffin Fish Room, welcome. I appreciate you being here, my friend. And then he also has set up 4 additional ponds on the side of his house and did some videos on that. And like, I always have wanted to do summer tubs. I've always really been interested in summer tubs, particularly in getting rice fish out in summer tubs. Like, that's always fascinated me. And I've been wanting to do that. Like, I've been really wanting to do that. My wife had some concerns about it. Like, it's kind of one of those things of, I'm already overtaking part of the basement. She doesn't want me overtaking all of outside. It's like, I get it, right? It's a compromise kind of a thing. So as we were outside of the backyard, though, a couple weeks ago, we kind of had this odd spot on the back of our house. Clay D, welcome. Appreciate you being here. We kind of had this odd spot in the backyard to the side of the house that it just didn't make sense to put grass there. It was really expensive to put more concrete there. So initially we talked about doing kind of like a shed. But then as we really started processing things, we got some storage up in the garage. We realized we didn't necessarily need a shed. Like, we didn't have enough stuff to warrant a shed. And then, of course, my HOA would probably freaked out that I built a shed. I don't know. So I just randomly pitched this idea of, what about a pond? Like, what if I build a pond right here? Like, what would you think? And I didn't expect it to go anywhere. And that's kind of one of my dreams of, like, what about a pond? But what I'm getting at, though, is that in one of those live streams, somebody actually asked me in the chat if I had a pond in my future. And the fun fact is, like, yes, I have a pond in my future because I have literally built a pond. So in that kind of weird, awkward spot, designed it, built it. It is up. It is holding water right now. I've got literally 2 plumbing parts, like $3, that is stopping me from finishing the entire filtration system on that pond. So I officially now I built about a 400-gallon pond. Outside dimensions roughly make it like a 500-gallon pond, but if you actually measure the total like water it can actually hold, it's about a 400-gallon pond. So it's nothing huge. It's about 6 by 4, so 6 feet long, 4 feet wide, just under 3 feet tall. But had a lot of fun building this pond. So it's kind of one of those things of, it's getting warmer in Utah, so I wanted to get it ready for the warm weather and make sure I can get fish out there. But I've been spending so much time down in the fish room just grinding away at this that it was nice just to kind of be outside, building something different. So I'm very excited to, release that pond on video, show you how I built it, kind of, show you why I built it the way I did. And one of the things that I had a goal in mind of, I did not want to dig, mainly because the area I'm in is so rock filled. Even planting some plants for my wife today out in the garden, it was insane. The rocks that I had to move out of the way to get even just plants in. So I originally wanted to dig about 2 feet down. And then I started realizing there's no way. I'm going to need a backhoe for this. I'm not going to it would take me days to do it by hand. I mean, we're only talking like a 6 by 4 area, 2 feet down, but it would have taken me days just because all the rocks in there. So I wanted to build a pond that did not require digging. And then I wanted to build it in a way that would be relatively simple for anybody to copy. So really excited about this, I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And I honestly think that I'm going to stock with a rice fish. I really think I'm going to have a 400-gallon rice fish pond to where in like 3 years, there's going to be just hundreds of rice fish cruising around in there. Really excited for that. Really looking forward to that. I don't know what we'll do yet. It's not big enough for koi, but I could start small koi in there, but it's not big enough to keep them long-term. So we'll definitely see what we do. Sharon, I saw the scape. What kind of shrimp did you get? Can't wait to see the pond. So on the 5.5-gallon, the nature-inspired aquarium. So right now it has some cherry shrimp and some Amano shrimp. So when I started my filterless tank, it is eventually going to get tore down. I'm done with that experiment. And it was awesome. It was fun. The filterless tank works. You can absolutely do it. I'm just not ready to put the maintenance into it. And I just got lazy. It's just a ball of algae right now in the glass. But everything else inside of it is doing great. The water parameters are on par. But Guppy Guru actually gave me some cherry shrimp for that tank. So I moved the cherry shrimp over to this tank, and they are some of the deepest red cherries I've ever had. I'm very fortunate of the quality of cherry shrimp I got from him. And I was really excited to see too that a couple were actually buried females. So I'm really hoping that the shrimp population kind of gets going in there, because I do know that the fish I'm going to put in that tank are eventually going to pick off some of them. And then I moved over some Amano shrimp that I had as well. So I've got like 6 or 7 cherries in there, a couple buried, and then I got like 3 Amano shrimp in there. So nothing crazy, but it's going to be awesome. And I'm very excited to show the pond. It actually came together really well. Like I was actually kind of surprised. Like even my wife was like, wow, like that actually looked good. My wife was very instrumental in helping build the pond. She's actually helped in every step of the way thus far. So very fortunate of that. Lefty, I wish our weather would improve. We keep bouncing between 70s and 40s. Well, that's about where I'm at. Not quite the 40s, but we've been probably the high 60s, mid 70s for the past few little while. And then yesterday we had a storm roll in, and like we shut off the AC we just kind of shut the air off last night, just kind of, and like my house is like 65 degrees when I got up this morning. So we were low 60s today. It was cool, but then the sun came out this afternoon, and it was one of those, like the wind is cold, but the sun was warm. So it was just perfect, like absolutely just perfect to just work outside, work on the plumbing. So that was what I was doing today. I got the pond kind of capped off yesterday, and then we were working on getting the filtration going today. And I'm doing something a little different with it. Like it's always, everything you see, the pump's always in the pond. But I kind of wanted to do something different. I had I had a brand new Jabal pump, or Jabo, however you want to say it, pump that I bought over a year ago that I was going to use on that 5-foot acrylic tank I previously had, I've now sold. But by the time that I kind of changed my mind on that tank, my return date for that pump to Amazon had passed, expired. So instead of letting it go to waste, I've decided to use that pump on the pond, and it was kind of a fun application of it. So we'll see how that comes into. Carrie, are you planning on leaving fish in your pond all year long? Yes. So my goal is to overwinter the fish in the pond, mainly because my struggle with ponds has always been the fact of I never wanted to drain ponds and bring the fish in. Now, I guess it's kind of a different thought process. If I laid out some summer tubs to really encourage breeding for the summer and do it like Rachel O'Leary does, there is a good chance that I would pull all the fish inside. But I wanted to build this pond in a way that I could overwinter the fish. And that's also why I'm not doing more of a tropical nature fish. I'm hopefully, I know from others' experience that rice fish can go into very cold water. If it happens gradually, not drastically, but gradually, you can overwinter some rice fish. So that's my goal. That's what, granted, I'm a sucker for rice fish. I love rice fish. Not sure what strain of rice fish I'm going to put in there yet. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It was one of those nights with my Tourette, so everybody gets to enjoy that. But the fun, tangent time. I'm sorry, Carrie. You've asked me a question, but I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here because it's my show. I get to do what I want, and this is probably going to get my channel like fully deleted off YouTube, and that's totally fine. It'll be totally worth it. So first off, thank you to everybody. Like literally, thank you to everybody that has joined the channel. They've subscribed. The support I've been getting. Like this is actually in the history of my channel, this is the fastest we have grown. This is the most views we have. This is the most support I have ever received on my YouTube channel, which I am blown away by. Like, I'm literally blown away by. In the last 3 weeks, we've jumped up 100 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. Crowntail, welcome. Thanks for being here. But of course, as you grow, especially when I'm going to start sniffing now because I'm talking about it, especially when you're different, right? You're different. People, there's some weird, like, I can't say weird. There's some crazy people in this world. So as we're growing, the number of comments that I'm getting that I am doing cocaine, that I'm high, that I have something wrong with my nose because I've done so much cocaine, that I'm a drug runner, I'm a drug dealer, and just all these different comments of like, oh, he must do cocaine. Like cocaine's a wonderful drug, and all these different things of like, the more and more I have Tourette's. I'm weird. I know that. I'm not afraid of that. But man, like the more we grow, and I knew this was going to happen, the more we grow, the more comments I get of like, I'm doing drugs. And I'm like, the best thing is like, I'm not. But you know, the hardest thing is about when I get these comments, something you could tell, like I'm laughing. I'm not upset. But the hardest thing though is when I get these comments now, because we'll say, quote unquote, a public figure, like I'm a voice on YouTube, like people watch my channel to get fish information. I can't comment back. Like I can't say anything back. I actually did to one person. I feel like I was pretty witty, said some things, and like afterwards it was like, oh, like shoot, if the FBI reads that, like I'm in trouble. So like the hardest thing is I can't say anything back to him. I can't comment back to him. But man, like I get accused of doing drugs every video I put up now. It's quite hilarious actually. Like people only knew, like I work in freaking law enforcement. I can't do drugs. Like I'm the one that's actually pulling drugs out of an institution. All right. Anyways, back to what we were saying here. Maria, thank you. Aquatic Monkey Business. Thanks for coming in. We got Clay D in. I think I've already said hello to you. What were we back at though? Who was asking me? Carrie, back to your question. I'm sorry for my rant there, my tangent. So I'm also overwintering. I've been talking with Guppy Guru. He's got some acrylic sheets that we're going to experiment with this winter to see how that handles with snow and the weight of the snow and different things like that. I'm also prepared to, if I need to, put a heater in there. I don't know yet. But yes, the ultimate goal is to leave fish in that pond over winter because I don't want to drain it. I don't want to have to shut it down and start it up again, shut it down, start it up again. That's why I'm hoping as well with the depth of the pond that I'll actually be able to achieve that is what my ultimate goal is. All right. Where was I before I started going off of my my absolute rant there of nothingness of, oh, man, I'm weird. I'm a weird dude and I love it. I love who I am. What we got here? Guppy Guru, you can absolutely have some of those cherry shrimp back, my friend. Let's just hope that the fish don't eat them all. That's all I got to say about that. But that's why I'm going to let I want the tank to kind of establish for a few months before I put anything in there. So I've got my idea. I got some goals I want to do in there. Let's see here. Clay D, are you planning on heating the pond? So initially, no. I am not planning on doing any kind of heating on it. One of the reasons is so I've seen people put heaters in ponds. And I'm not worried about like burning a hole in the liner or overheating anything. It's really comes down to how cheap can I actually run this pond. So in the summer, I'm 100 degrees outside. It's water temperature should be good. That's one reason why I'm picking the fish. And I think it's different in every region too. Like Bay Aquatics, San Francisco area, he can really, when he gets those warm temperatures, like he's actually struggling to keep the temperature of his ponds down. But, he can do, I think he could absolutely breed like bettas outside if he actually wanted to. You get like HC Aquatics out in Hawaii. He's dealing with some great weather year round. But the number one reason I don't want to run the heater is actually cost. Is I've seen the math done, I've heard the math done, and you could actually calculate out like a 300-watt heater. It's on. You got to think about that. Let's say I did a 300-watt heater, one 300-watt heater, and that's going to run 24/7 for however long I'm going to keep it in the pond through the winter. Then you can actually calculate, how many watts is that going to take? Okay, roughly 300. What's the cost per watt? How does that all match up? It would kind of get to the point of, is it really cost effective on running that pond? Because I think to effectively heat up 400 gallons of water, I'm going to need a couple heaters, if not some big heaters. So now it could roll into, this may cost me an extra $50 to $100 a month just to run that pond. So, and then I also kind of want to see. So, to be honest, I'm really nervous about putting rice fish in the pond this year. Like, I'm really nervous about doing that. I actually may try just some feeder goldfish or even just some feeder minnows, something that will handle the ambient temperature okay. But I want to see if I can overwinter those successfully before I actually go dumping in all of my rice fish. Because I would hate to put out my rice fish and lose them. I'm also like, and I'm really back and forth on either putting my orange rice fish outside, which would just look absolutely stunning in the sun, putting my daisy rice fish out, which again are like one of my favorite rice fish, or finding some platinum rice fish to put out there. Because I think with the platinum, that sun hits the back of it and just, oh man, looks so good. But I'm really nervous about putting my rice fish out this year, partly because I haven't had the time to play with it yet, right? I haven't had that time to officially like really see what's the extreme that I can take this pond to. Like, what's the extreme? Like right now, up in my laundry room, fish room, which by the way, I definitely need to film a video on that. I don't have heaters in my tank. Well, that's a lie. I have one heater in the discus tank just so it maintains that 84-degree temperature. Like I heat the room with a dehumidifier. And I've actually had some tanks in there. Like I've had rice fish tanks in there. One of them hit 69 degrees the other day. And everybody, like normally people are like, no, you cannot do that. Like the tank my puffer's in, it went down to 71 degrees. And everyone was like, you can't do that. The dude is eating. He is healthy. He's a fat boy. He's a healthy little chubster. Like all the fish did fine. And I think it is because I didn't go from, 75 degrees when the dehumidifier's on, and it didn't just plummet down to 70. It was a gradual, over the course of like 8 hours, it went down from 75 down to 70, and the fish just adjusted right with it. And then when it heats back up, it takes like 3 to 4 hours for that tank to heat back up from 70 to 75, and everything was fine. So kind of a long rant, but that's why I don't think I'm going to run a heater. But you better believe that I'm probably not going to be sleeping well this winter. I'm probably going to be out there like a temp gun, every hour of like, what is the temperature of the pond? Are the fish surviving? I'm just all these things we're delving into is fish hobbyists, right? Like the other fun part about being on YouTube now, like I love the interaction with everybody. We got 17 people watching. People are chatting up. Like I love the interaction that we get in this fish hobby. But then it's also fun too because everybody looks to you. Like everybody looks to me like, oh, is he going to screw his pond up? Like, okay, we're going to build a pond, but like, honey, let's wait till next year and see if his pond just absolutely crashes in the winter, because then we can make fun of him. Then we can do our pond better. But then we can keep like the way I look at it is like, cool. Like, let me see if my pond explodes. Sure. Let me see if like I'm the crazy one. Let me see if my pond makes it, if it explodes, because then I can come back to you like, all right, look, I do not recommend doing this. And then you're going to do this. I'm like, I'm going to talk to you about that. How did you do that? Teach me. Whew. Man, I'm going off tonight. Like, see, this is exactly why I knew that I was not going to be able to talk fish food tonight. I'm in such a good mood tonight. I've had a great week. There was no way I was going to be able to sit down and be like, this flake food is the bust. No, we're going to chat. All right. Sharon, Trent, block them and move on. They're immature and just cold-hearted. It is easy for me to say, but it infuriates me that there are moons in the world. Yeah, I blocked most of them. I actually got into a bit of well, let me put it this way. The video that I did that I actually kind of finally said I have Tourette's, talked all about that. I apparently offended so many people on the internet with that one. That was awesome, actually. Like, it was kind of interesting to see everybody come out of the woodwork. Lefty, the fun part is I actually have allergies. And they've been killing me this spring with all the pollen in the air. And then especially with everything going on in the world, like, whew, I'll tell you what, I don't need to social distance myself because I do one sniff and boom, people are gone. Crown tail, everyone is absolutely a critic these days, but you know what though? We're just gonna keep dabbing and moving on. At least I think that's what your emoji is. Is it a dab? Carrie, if we start up a pond, we want to have it all year round as well. You know, and it's I don't know if I'll be able to enjoy it as much in the winter, because in the summer we actually were planning on building like a bench around the pond. We're gonna put a little fire pit by the pond. So it just kind of is gonna encompass that corner of the yard is gonna encompass into this kind of sound garden nature area. You know, you're able to look over to and see the garden. So we're really interested to see how that comes together. But my biggest thing is I just don't want to have to drain it, bring all the fish in, because every season, I on my local classified ads, it's always 60 pond fish free, koi goldfish, $1 an inch, and I don't know, not interested in that. Crown tail, Trent, I know nothing about shrimp. Can you explain how to keep and breed them? But it sounds like you know how to cook and eat shrimp. Well, my friend, if you know how to cook me some shrimp up, we need to meet up. I absolutely love seafood. Love seafood. All right, here. So how to keep. So how do I explain? Okay. You're going to have shrimp that are the neocaridina and the shrimp that are the caridina. So things like your crystal reds, your crystal blacks, your very specific shrimp. I have not played with them. Everything I read on there, they need a very specific pH, very specific water parameters. There's actually one person in my fish club who is experimenting breeding those shrimp in tap water. So a lot of people will use an RO filter, create RO water, so a reverse osmosis water, and then they will remineralize it. Now some of the crystal shrimp are absolutely beautiful, but it's also I don't really want to play with things yet that require me to do that much work to keep them happy. So that's why I'm really excited. Like my discus, I'm really excited that my discus have been bred in tap water. They've lived in tap water their entire life. And I'm sitting at like almost an 8 pH. I have very high pH, and my hardness, I have not found a test kit yet that will accurately read the hardness of my water. I'm off the charts. So things like cherry shrimp, your yellow shrimp, your snowball shrimp, your blue dream shrimp, your blue velvet shrimp, your what are they, the Bloody Marys, your red rillies, your black rillies, your carbons, different things like that. Like a lot of things that fall into that neocaridina, they're easy. Like I think of them like a guppy. Add water, add food, boom, you will have babies. So shrimp do really well in planted aquariums. They're major scavengers. They're gonna, eat food that the fish don't eat. They're gonna eat some algae. They're gonna pick at little crustaceans. You can feed them very specific shrimp foods, but it's one of those things that like cherry shrimp are probably one of the best to start with, because you can find some decent ones and then, plop them in a tank. If you have things that like betta fish, some tetra, some larger fish, they will pick them off, and you're going to lose some babies. But in my old fish room, my 33-gallon that I had running that was planted up and everything, I think I started with like 15 cherry shrimp. And when I took that tank down, I actually could not catch out all the shrimp. When I sold that tank, the person that bought it from me actually took it, and they asked if I would leave the substrate in for them. That was fine. They told me that they ended up spending like an additional 4 hours of netting shrimp out, and they netted out over 200 cherry shrimp. And I had already taken out like 100 shrimp. So very easy to keep. You will need to watch the calcium in your water, because that's actually what's going to create that shell around, the actual exoskeleton, whatever the shrimp, the body of the shrimp. So if you're running low on some things, I like to use the Wonder Shells. It adds a lot of calcium to the water. It's very simple. Something like crushed coral will help you. So the neocaridina, they do well in most people's tap water. If you have really soft water, you may want to add in some crushed coral just to buffer up the hardness of them. But overall, like shrimp are actually really rewarding. It is fun to really watch them scurry around the tank. you're going to hear a lot of people talk. So like people will talk, you need to cycle the aquarium before you add fish and get your beneficial bacteria up, and making sure that you can appropriately keep fish alive. Then people say with shrimp, you need to have a seasoned aquarium. Now, what does that mean? What does seasoned aquarium mean? It means you've got microorganisms running around your tank like rampant. You may not see them, but you have a good, healthy colony of beneficial bacteria. Your fish are healthy. You've been keeping and maintaining this tank for a while. Maybe you got some mold built up around rocks and plants that you don't see. So things that the shrimp are going to be able to go into and just absolutely pick at. Now, the tank above me, I pulled some substrate out of the filterless tank and put that in there. So that's loaded with beneficial bacteria and some microorganisms, different things like that. But then everything else is basically new. The plants came out from some other things, but like I've not lost one shrimp. And I think that's also because it's just, there's things to pick at, is you put in, so like one thing too with like manzanita wood. If you put like, I don't know, I think it's spiderwood. Spiderwood's I think more appropriate with this conversation. If you put spiderwood into your tank, it's most likely going to build and make a biofilm. So it's like white fuzz that goes all over the wood, and generally it freaks people out. But that's actually natural. It's healthy, and that's probably one of the best things that like the shrimp will feed on. So if you ever put like a new piece of driftwood in your tank, you kind of see it fungus up, perfect biofilm for shrimp to feed on. Let's see. So Sharon Miller, this is kind of in regards to the pond conversation. I would be nervous too. I love my rice fish so much. You turn me on to them and they are my favorite. I really, really love my daisy rice fish. I put a video of the platinums on Instagram. I'm going to go look that up because I think the platinums would just absolutely look beautiful outside. Absolutely beautiful outside. Just with their coloration and different things. To see that the sun hit them. But I'm also, like the daisy rice fish is absolutely one of the most underrated fish in this hobby. They are gorgeous. Man, they're beautiful fish. So I'm very happy you were able to find some rice fish for you. They are absolutely the best. Carrie, some people are miserable in their own lives. They try to bring others down with them. Don't let them get to you. I generally do pretty good. I generally do pretty good for not letting people get at me, but I don't know. Like, I guess sometimes I come up with the best response, like the most witty, smart aleck response. And I'm about to push enter. It's like, oh, wait. I got to be a nice guy. I can't do that. Crown Tail, thanks, Trent, for shrimp sharing. How often do they breed and how long it takes it to mature? Can you use spring water or distilled bottled water instead of RO? And then what's the basic setup and size for shrimps? Do you need light or if only using light plants? So, okay, let's break this down. How often do they breed? I have no idea. I think if you want to dig into Flip Aquatics, you can get into more of how often they breed. I know they're out there. There's some talk of like how often or like how long the gestation cycle is on the eggs. So the females will actually carry the eggs up underneath their abdomen and they'll fan them with their back legs. It's actually kind of cool to see. Like on a cherry shrimp, they're typically yellow. So you can actually see them like fanning the eggs and different things. I don't know how long they actually take to hatch. When they do hatch, though, they're just little baby shrimp running around. Mature a couple months. You can grow some shrimp up pretty quick. It ultimately depends on what the food source is, how much food they have, the type of food you're giving them, that kind of a thing. Spring water or distilled water instead of RO. I have never personally played with like spring water or bottled water instead of an RO unit. So the only thing I use my RO unit for is my reef tank, which is coming. I've actually never had any concern about keeping anything like a cherry shrimp or a blue shrimp in RO water. I think it's unnecessary. I really do. You're going to read so many things on the internet saying that you have to have an RO unit in order to keep shrimp. I disagree with that. If you're going down the road of like your crystal shrimps or your Caridina shrimp, you may want to look into that. But again, I've never played with bottled water or the spring water. And then people will also say too that people often ask about like the distilled water you can buy in the store, which I think goes through like a reverse osmosis membrane. But my concern with that is on my personal RO unit, I can track how many gallons are going through that, how long I've had that filter. Or I guarantee you, when you go into like Walmart and you're filling up these big 5-gallon jugs, I guarantee you that they do not change that filter as often as is actually recommended. So you're probably just getting, the same water you would if you took it out of your tap. Like Guppy Guru said, we're lazy. Absolutely. Like I'm going to keep things that interest me. So some of those things like discus, right? Like it's going to take a little more work to do. Something like my yellow zebra plecos. It's going to take a little more work to do. KG Cichlids, I see you coming in. Thank you. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you being here. But it's also, I'm going to keep things of like, I want to keep things that are fun. It's kind of simple that can also be difficult. It's like the rice fish, for example. Rice fish, they can be a booger to breed. But once you get them going, like they're nonstop breeding and they're so freaking cool to look at. So on the basic setup for shrimp, it kind of what you want. 10-gallon tanks were great. You could actually have an incredible colony of 10-gallon of shrimp going in a 10-gallon. If you threw in just a basic substrate, something like a guppy grass, some moss, put a little light over it, and throw 10 cherry shrimp in there, and you come back in 3 months, you're going to have 50 cherry shrimp now. If you come back in a year, you may have over 100 cherry shrimp in there now. A lot of people breed them in bare bottom tanks. This makes it easy siphoning out. I do like to use live plants. I do like to use a small substrate because what's going to happen is that detritus builds up the plants. You're going to use it, and it just kind of all goes into that cycle. If you really want to get some good knowledge on shrimp, say Flip Aquatics, but I would also highly recommend checking out the fish room tour that I did of Jared Garner's fish room. I believe the video is entitled The Most Zen Fish Room. Maybe Peter can drop a link to it in the chat for us. But that dude did some insane things with shrimp that I've never seen done. Like it's against the normal. But his focus on the shrimp was giving them lots of grazing areas and just good food. So high quality flake food that the other fish aren't going to eat, so the shrimp will eat, but then also the amount of grazing areas is very important for these shrimp. Let's see. Sharon, thank you very much for saying hit the like button. I appreciate it. See, Clay, I'm going to try some Variatus platies outside this summer. Just set up a 110-gallon stock tank. What plants are you planning on using for your pond? So this is one of the reasons why I need to hurry up and get my butt in gear to get things done is Peter was very kind enough and has offered to give me a bunch of Vallisneria. And now one of the things is like I want that Vallisneria. Like I absolutely. So my idea of it is I actually want to put some Vallisneria in my pond. I want to put some Vallisneria in there in kind of a pond basket, so it's holes all around. And then I really want to put in some. Sorry, I'm something's acting up. I'm just making sure we're still good of what we need to be doing here. I will answer that question. I apologize to be bouncing around on you. All right, we're back. All right. So one of the things, like I said, one of the things I want to do is I really want to try some Vallisneria in the pond. I think if you actually give it a good substrate, even just like rocks to root in, but give it plenty of area for the roots to grow in, I really want to see if I can grow the Vallisneria up to the top of the pond and actually have it lay over the top of the pond. I think it would be absolutely gorgeous. It would provide some great cover for the rice fish. I do plan on pulling some red root floaters out of my tanks. I really want to see if I can get those grown in the pond. And then I think the water hyacinth. If my fish club is still meeting right now, I know some individuals that have plenty of that I could buy from them. So I may have to do some orders online, which I'm not too crazy about. But I also think I'm going to try. I really want to try some plants from either like Home Depot, which is open now. Maybe if my local nurseries open up. So I would like to get some floating plants going because that's where a lot of the rice fish are going to spawn. But I also, like I say, I really want to try this Vallisneria. I really want to see if I can get it to grow in sunlight and then actually just lay over the top of the pond. Because I think it would be so cool if you had this massive just area of Vallisneria laying over the top of the pond, providing some shade and cover the fish. I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be really cool. But the Variatus platypus, like that's gonna be beautiful in the sunlight. That's gonna be amazing in the sunlight. KG Cichlids, I got too busy and sold my tank yesterday. $500 for the 135. Well, my friend, it sounds like you need to turn that $500 into more tanks. No, sorry to hear that, my friend. I know what it's like downsizing when you need to. Been there, done that, but hopefully you can continue. I always, speaking from my own experience of when I downsized and kind of left for a little while, I always kept the tank. It's part of who I am now. It's ingrained into me. I don't think I will ever live my life without a tank in my life. Even when I'm 95 and it can barely move, if it's a 5-gallon tank, because that's what I can take care of, and it'll be a 5-gallon tank. So hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully things are good for you, and hopefully we can get you back into the. Well, I hope you're staying in the hobby in some light. Maria, I start with like 5 shrimp and feed them twice a day. I have lots of shrimp now, and I do water changes twice a month. So I with anything, water changes is an interesting conversation in itself. I don't think shrimp really care. I really don't. Now, if you have insane amounts of like ammonia in your tank, that's a whole other issue we need to address. But I think between let me put it this way. In the filterless tank I've been running, I have legitly done 2 water changes. Like legit take out a couple gallons, put a couple gallons back in. For the past few months, I have only been just topping off that tank once a week. And the shrimp have been doing great. I know for a fact they've been breeding, but I also know for a fact that the bed has been picking off the baby shrimp. So there would be a lot. Like, you could literally set up a filterless tank, and if you don't believe me, check out Foo the flower horn. He does some incredible no filter tanks, filterless tanks, and his shrimp population are booming. So I really think that shrimp care about if the water's clean in the way of chemically, and if there's food, like if there's grazing areas. That's really what it comes down to. And so, but if you were doing water changes 10% once a week, if that, I think you'd be totally fine. And then you're probably gonna have that habit of going down and actually siphoning out all the detritus off the bottom of the tank. I would leave it. That's just food source for the baby shrimp. That's food source for the adult shrimp. Because what's going to happen is that a biofilm is going to grow over that, and you're going to have, no issues there. Yep, just like Maria was saying, I only remove from the top because she's right. The baby shrimp are so small that they're really easy to siphon up. Peter, thank you for putting up the link to the most zen fish room. That was such a cool fish room. I cannot wait to go back up there and talk with Jared some more as soon as all of this is over. I think, Crown, so if you're asking about the plant I'm talking about, so I cannot share. I don't think I can share pictures in the chat. But if you Google guppy grass, I think they also call it like star grass or something. But if you Google guppy grass, you can actually find numerous pictures about it. And I think if you jump on like eBay, you could probably buy, bags of it for fairly cheap. It grows really fast, really easy to keep. Doesn't require, you just float it. Doesn't require anything crazy. Let's see. KG Cichlids, I'm here to stay. Just living, space, circumstances, and soft water where I live now. Nope, I understand. I understand what you have going on, but I'm glad you're here to stay in the hobby. This is one of those things that I just think it brings so much good to people. Supreme African Cichlids, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Very glad you're here. KG, I agree with you. Fu the Flower Horn is doing YouTube correctly. He makes it interesting for sure. So the thing is, like, I don't think I've ever seen him on camera, but the way that he films, and just you can tell this the absolute passion he has for somebody. Like I bring it, I absorb so much YouTube, just content and just what people are doing, and you can tell like it's when people really enjoy what they're doing. Like that's what brings me into it. Of like when I watch some channels that aren't even fish related. Like I have no interest necessarily in that hobby of theirs, but it's the passion they bring, and it's the way that they're so excited to share with you what they're doing. That makes me really excited to watch them. Really excited to watch them. See, Nevea, Well-Don Tanks, get StreamYard so you can share your screen. It runs in the browser. So I'm actually on StreamYard. I've actually never played with that. So maybe, again, in the future when I play with it a little more. So I'm running StreamYard right now, but I haven't delved in enough into it to run the browser thing. I know Guppy Guru knows how to do that. I haven't learned it yet, and I'm probably, by the time I start touching buttons, that this is going to explode. And that would make me really sad since we got about 10 minutes left. So I really don't want to break anything 10 minutes into it. Like I said, just go ahead and just Google guppy grass and we'll be fine. But in the future, I'll absolutely learn how to do that for you. Let's see. What did I miss? Crown tail. Trent, do you need sponge filter for shrimp? Can you also use, is that the Indian almond leaves? Tannins? So absolutely. So like, shrimp love tannins, absolutely. Like you can buy some botanicals that are little, all sorts of botanicals. And the thing is, though, is like on the Indian almond leaves, for example, it's gonna develop a biofilm. So the Indian almond leaf, as it breaks down, will develop a biofilm, and as it breaks down, that's also food for the shrimp. So tannins will not harm shrimp. Tannins are actually very beneficial to shrimp. I have botanicals in every shrimp tank I've had, and they do just fine with it. What else did you ask me? Oh, as a sponge filter, so you don't have to have a sponge filter. The reason I like a sponge filter for shrimp is that a power filter, you're going to inevitably suck up some baby shrimp. It's going to happen. Hang in the back, canister filter. If you're running a big sump filtration, you're going to lose shrimp down into the sump. It's going to happen. The things with like a sponge filter, though, is that it provides a massive grazing area for the shrimp. So beneficial bacteria is going to grow on there. Biofilm is going to grow on there. And it's going to it's just going to provide just a buffet of food for your shrimp. And it's not going to suck in any shrimp and kill them. That's why I use it. Yeah, so crown tail, it was for the pond plant, it is jungle val. Or I think there's a couple different val scenario out there. But yeah, jungle val. Supreme, what do I think about Biomax Fluval? So if I'm correct, it's their version of the ceramic media. I am of the opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, I'm of the opinion that there is no best biological media. Hands down. I really am. I have used pot scrubbies, bio balls, Fluval, the Fluval Max. I've used ceramic media I bought off Amazon. I've had ceramic media I bought from Aquarium Co-op. I have used lava rock. I'm actually going to use lava rock in my pond filter. That's all it's going to be is lava rock. There is a, who's it by? Brightwell Aquatics. I'm using like a Brightwell Aquatics filter brick that I bought from Bull Creek Supply. It's really directed towards lowering nitrates in a reef tank. So I bought it kind of getting, curious about it. Like, yeah, gym stocks. Like, so my opinion on biomedia is we can go down and then maybe that's another rabbit hole we go down, because it is a fun rabbit hole to go down of like debate of like, what is the best biomedia? Like you're going to have people say, oh, I've been using Biomax by Fluval for 50 years and I've never lost a fish. And you're going to get another guy coming to the game. He's like, oh, I've only used bio balls for 50 years and I've never lost a fish. And then you're going to have a newcomer come in and be like, I'm using gym socks and I've never lost a fish either. And they're going to be like, you can't use gym socks. So I have used so many different types And I think what it really comes down to is, will the Biomax by Fluval work? Absolutely. It absolutely will provide a porous living space for beneficial bacteria. Because as there's pores in it or surface area, that's what's going to allow that beneficial bacteria to grow on there. So it's things like pot scrubbies. I will be using a 5-gallon bucket full of pot scrubbies in the 220 for the sump. I will also be using a 5-gallon bucket full of bioballs. And I think both work great. Like both allow beneficial bacteria to grow. I've previously used just straight lava rock in a sump. And when you test the water, it had undetectable ammonia, it had undetectable, nitrites, and it had like 10 nitrates, but I also had live plants, so I wanted nitrates. So I think I think the biomedia is another thing that we, as fish keepers and fish hobbyists, we get caught up in that industry. We see the latest and greatest. We see the advertisements of, oh, this promotes this much surface area, and like, oh, that's going to be great. Like the Brightwell Aquatics brick I bought. Does it promote some amazing surface area? Absolutely. Do I believe it has a lot of surface area? Absolutely. Do I believe that it can hold a lot of beneficial bacteria in a smaller space because it's a brick? Absolutely. But I also really agree. Like Rob Truitt, thanks for coming into the chat. I appreciate it. I use aquarium gravel for filter media. Absolutely, because it's going to provide a surface area for that bacteria to grow on. So a porous media is going to work better. Sure, I'm of that opinion. So I have a really hard time saying like this is the best. So my opinion, the best biomedia is what can you afford? What's available to you and what's the cheapest, and even then, what can you afford? And if you can afford a 10-pack of ceramic media from Amazon and it's $20, buy that. If you have a dollar store near you and you want to shove some pot scrubbies in the back of your hang on the back filter, do that. Because like the thing too is like, look at sponge filters. A $5 sponge filter can actually outperform, in my opinion, a bag of Fluval Biomax. It's also all the application you have in there. So I know you guys can't tell. There are certain things you're going to ask about, and you're going to get this long-winded rant of an answer, and you're probably just like, "Whoa, bro! I just wanted to know if you like it." But so yeah, there it is. That's my opinion. That I think the Biomax by Fluval, same thing as any other ceramic media you're absolutely going to buy. All right, we got a couple minutes left here. Let's keep going down the chat. Crown Tail, what substrate do you recommend for shrimp, and do you cover entire base of tank? How thick? Personal preference on that one. You see Guppy Guru, he uses just regular black aquarium gravel. I've used sand. I have done bare bottom. Up in the tank above it with the shrimp in it, it has organic potting soil capped with a cheap, natural looking aquarium gravel I bought from Amazon. So I think any substrate is gonna work, and the thickness, whatever you want. If you are planning on doing some plants that root, you're going to need a little thicker substrate to allow for a good root base. If you're going to go with mostly floating plants or like a moss, you won't need much. Let's see here. Lefty, I just use sponge now thanks to the co-op. So I love sponge filters. I've used them previously for a lot of them. And then, leading into it, Crown Tail, which sponge do you recommend, fine or coarse, and why? So I, in the past, have used very fine sponge filters because that's all I knew was out there. When I first started the hobby, really getting into this, I found sponge filters, learned about them, did a lot of research on them, the application of them, why I would need it, different things like that. I would buy the ones from Amazon. The ones from Amazon typically are always more of a fine sponge filter. Now, Aquarium Co-op, they put out the coarse sponge filter. Now, here's my opinion. Hands down, coarse sponge filter all the way. If I'm going to use a sponge filter application, I will never use a fine sponge filter again. The reason being, The fine sponge filters clog so fast. They can pull out some crazy fine particles, but the real reason is like I'm using a sponge filter because I'm lazy. I'm using a sponge filter because I do not want to clean that filter every other day. My sponge filters right now, they probably get cleaned twice a month, and like they're gross when they come out, sure. But with the coarse sponge filter, it catches larger particles. They don't clog as fast, and they're going to work just the same as a fine sponge filter, but you can actually go longer in between cleanings. So on a large scale fish room where you maybe have 30, I think Peter's up to like 50 something tanks. That's a lot of sponges to clean. Now with the coarse sponge filter, let's say I had that fish room. Let's say I had that many tanks. You could rotate it of like, all right, 50 tanks. I'm going to clean each sponge filter once a month. So you can break down, okay, this rack is going to get cleaned this time frame. This rack is going to get cleaned this time frame. And as you do that and you loop back around to that first rack, that sponge filter is still effectively filtering your tank because it has room in that coarse sponge to actually collect particles, and it's not just going to absolutely overflow on it. Lefty says, I'm all sponge filter and my HLB have sponge. It's like the intake. Like if you're using an intake sponge on a power filter, a hang on the back filter, a canister filter, maybe because you're using that for a shrimp tank and you want to stop shrimp getting sucked in, a fine sponge filter will actually deter the performance of that filter because it's going to clog up so fast and it's going to have a hard time pulling water through that. So if you now have a coarse sponge filter, it's not going to stop the performance of that filter. Otter Creek Aquatics, welcome. I know we're just getting close to wrapping up. We're on that hour mark, but if anybody kind of has any final questions or anything they want to bring up in the chat, we can hang around for a few minutes. Crown tail, can you use white or black sand? You can use purple sand, my friend. Whatever sand you prefer, shrimp will breed on it. You won't find any issues there. Oh, Guppy Guru, we got to get you to 50 tanks, my friend. You got space. Just take over the kitchen table. They will never know. Never know. All right. Very much though, again, I thank everybody for coming in. I think we peaked at 18? That's what I'm looking at right now. Very grateful to everybody that has shown support to me this past month. It's been incredible. Yeah, Otter Creek, I know. It usually seems like you pop up right as I'm getting ready to close it down, but we'll see if people keep asking some questions, I can stay on here for a little longer, but it's time to get the kid down to bed, and then I have got to get some tanks. Well, I got to get some water in some tanks. We're behind on that. Nevea says, I use a coarse intake filter on the HOB and 2 sponge filters, 1 fine and 1 coarse in the tank. So I have seen that done, and my reasoning that I would do that would be the fine sponge filter is kind of going to be the polishing of the water, and the coarse sponge filter is going to be kind of the actual like long-term filter of the tank. But again, I'm lazy. Like Peter said, I'm lazy. I'm a lazy fish keeper. Yes, Peter. I said water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks are ready for water. So the goal tonight: test the water lines, test the drain lines, and pray to God that the drain line does not leak, because that's going to be a bad night if it does. Maria, I missed it. What filter do you use for your pond? So I only have the one pond I built. If I was doing something like Michael has set up on the summer tubs, I would use sponge filters. I would find a way to either cover an air pump next to them or run air line for like my garage all the way out to them. So if I was having smaller ponds, I'd go sponge filters all the way across it. The big pond I built, it's really like a storage tote. It's going to be full of lava rock media. And then we'll have a waterfall feature, kind of a waterfall feature going back into the pond. So that's what it's going to be. Because I have 4 turtles. I need lots of help. Yeah, I want a turtle really bad. I really do want a turtle. Otter Creek Aquatics. How many tanks total is the fish room looking to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's that? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 20, I think. I'm looking to do about 20. If I didn't have the 220, I would be able to fit more tanks in here, but we have the 220, so that's what's here. And I've actually had I've toyed with the idea of, was the Maboo puffer a mistake? Was that something I kind of got over my head in? But I know. I know. Right now, I'm still very much happy with my Maboo, but we will see what the future brings. I don't think he's going anywhere, though. But so probably about 20 tanks. So it's not huge by any means, but it's what I have. Like the room's only like 8x7, so it's not even 8x8. It's like 8x7. But man, I'm literally right now. So I'm touching the 220. I'm touching the breeding rack. I'm touching the 60 cube, and I'm touching the wall where the monitor's at. So like I can practically touch almost everything from just sitting right here. Like I've told Peter that I want him to be the first one to come over and do like an official tour of the fish room. And I joked with him, like, there's no way that two of us are going to be able to fit in this room, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're looking probably about 20. And then I think my wife is letting me set up the reef tank out in the living room when it's done. And I need to get that going because I got a very, very special company that I'm working with for that tank. And they have provided me with some awesome equipment. Well, more so product. An incredible piece of product that I'm so excited to show everybody. But I really want to do them justice. They've been one of the best companies to work with, and they're actually a local company to me. Yeah, Crown Tail, if I moved tanks into the bedroom, you better believe that I would be literally sleeping with the fishes, not because they'd be right next to me, but because my wife would probably feed me piece by piece of the puffer. So, all right, my friends. Oh, Sharon, I get plants from KGE Aquatics. He has great plants at very reasonable price. He's on Facebook. He has dry goods too. You can message him. He also has pond plants. Ooh, I'm going to look that up now. KJE. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to text that to myself because I am looking for pond plants. KJE Aquatics. Perfect. All right, my friends. Thank you, everybody. This past few weeks has been absolutely incredible. Where are we peaking at right now? Let's take a quick look here. We are closing in on 1,600 subscribers. I cannot thank you, everybody, enough for that. Absolutely incredible what everybody's been, just doing for me. Peter, thank you very much, my friend, for texting that to me. I really appreciate that. So, guys, thank you again for all the support coming in on these videos, this channel. It's just, I'm having such a good time lately, such a good time sharing this. So, the absolute goal is when we hit 2,000, I'm working on doing something to give back to everybody to say my thanks. But for now, I think we're going to close down the live stream. I'm going to go put the kid to bed, and then I'm going to come get some water in some tanks. I said water, Peter. Water in some tanks. All right. It's been a good stream, been a fun stream. I'm in a good mood. Thank you again, everybody. And watch for the next one. No idea when it's going to be yet, but maybe next week. I try to stream from Sunday to Saturday in one of those days. So the next stream could potentially end up being tomorrow. I highly doubt it, but that's kind of my time frame for streaming. And I think on this next one, maybe we'll actually delve into fish foods instead of just listen to me ramble and rant for over an hour. But Carrie, I'm glad this was a great surprise tonight. I will have a good weekend. Thank you very much. I've got till okay, Crown Tail, if I need a mop tonight, like there may not be another stream. No. Don't put that curse on me. Cross your fingers, cross your toes, hug your puppies tight. We're getting some water and some tanks tonight. That was probably like one of the coolest rhymes I've ever come up with. So with that, I am Trent Wel-Don, and we'll see you all in the next one.